Jamie from Inky&Scrappy, sharing with you today, Get Creepy on Halloween, May 2023. Ruh Roh, another mystery. I will get back to that Get Creepy on Halloween hashtag in a little while. But first, I'm going to start with my card base here. This one was born from one that I did a little while back. It was a book style lift the flap or flap fold in one, but it had 4 flaps that fold in on the top and the bottom, and then the 2 sides. And so this one I just wanted to kind of simplify that one and make it a little less. Now there were some issues with that one, and so you'll see here where I scored it at 3 7/8 inch, and then I'm going to score it on the set, fold it, then score it at 4 inches here. And it gives me about an 1/8 inch overhang on the other one. So I'm going to put it back in here and score it at 4 1/8. Now this will give me a little bit, so originally I had planned on doing layers of cardstock underneath this one like I had in my den suite, well, my den card. And so that was kind of why I wanted that extra 1/8 inch, 16th inch there. I'm not quite sure. It must be a 16, I don't know. Anyways, so it gives me a little bit of wiggle room there. As you'll see, I held it up and kind of showed you where I have a little bit of a cushion in there. Did I need it? Maybe a little bit, but not a whole lot. I probably could have just shaved off. I probably could have scored it at 4 1/8 and then just shaved off maybe a 1/16 of an inch from the one end that flaps, the one flap that folds in. But I wanted to kind of make this one a little bit easier than the other one. I am bringing in some papers from the Doodle Designs Monster Madness 6x6 paper pack for my frame on this one. Now, I do end up cutting 2 frames, and you will see later on, because, you know, I don't plan these things out. This is the first time I've done this one, so I work out the kinks as I go. I don't ever abandon a project if something's not working. I just find some way around it. It's how I create. It's how I live life. Anyways, so I decided to do some ink blending on that front piece here. I had originally kind of thought about doing just the pattern paper and layering it over, but with that cut piece. So I'm using the second largest from the Inside Out Switch stitched rectangles from Lawn Fawn for my window piece here. So lining it up, it takes a little bit. And so I thought, you know what, I haven't ink blended for a while, so I started ink blending, and then obviously I just didn't stop ink blending. I really enjoyed how this one came together. So I'm using some Black Soot Distress Oxide ink, and then I'm going to come in with some Peacock Feathers Distress Oxide ink to add a little bit. So I'm kind of going off of that cloud pattern paper from that Doodlebug pad, where it kind of has the purples and the teals and a little bit of orange in there, which kind of goes with my image that is going to come in here in a little bit. And so I like the look of this one. I'm going to have to clean up my workspace a little bit here so I don't smudge and get ink all over the back panel of my card. Now I do end up getting some inky fingerprints on the inside, but don't worry, I cover it up. It's all good. And then I'm just going to go back over it with some Black Soot again to kind of blend it in a little bit better. And then I will peel off those pages there. So once yeah, see, I had finger ink on my fingers, and yeah, I caused issues. It happens. So I kind of planned on doing the background. So here's where I'm like, okay, I can do this as the background piece. And then I was like, you know, I don't know. So I set that aside because I hadn't decided what else I was doing. Plus the ink needed to dry, because if it's not dry, I tend to just keep on smudging everything. So I set that off to the side, brought in my piece of acetate here. I did cut it down to kind of fit underneath that frame. Now the frame doesn't really match up with my rectangle, my inside out stitched rectangle. I really kind of wished it did. But, you know, we work on it and we go from there. So I'm bringing in Tim Holtz's Unraveled stamp set. I had also looked at the Monster Reunion one. I just didn't like the little speckles that were around that mummy. And so I ended up going with the unraveled one. Plus, I can bring in those bats later on, and it's all in one stamp set, so it's not using 30,000 stamp sets like I do sometimes. So I'm bringing in a piece of white scratch paper. This is just there to help me see my image because I'm going to do a little bit of alcohol ink markering on that acetate piece. And I want to know exactly where I want my color laid down. So I'm going to start with this one, and then I'm going to bring the Misty back. I'm going to leave that stamped image exactly where it is. I'm not going to take it out. I am cleaning it good. I am going to be using some StazOn in a little while, and I don't want to contaminate ink pads sort of thing. So I'm going to line this up on that acetate on top of that scratch paper. I should have used 2 pieces of tape here. I end up wiggling it a little later on, but this is what I mean by I wanted to add some alcohol ink onto that acetate. So alcohol markers or alcohol Copics, Ohuhus, whatever you're using, they will color on acetate. It's an alcohol-based marker. You could also use alcohol inks and a paintbrush, which I will show you later on. Yeah, I told you this one got a little bit more involved than I was planning, right? Yeah. So I'm just going in with colors that coordinate with the rest of my card, kind of bringing in, I love coloring the mummy from the Unraveled and the other one with colors. I love the look of, because let's be real, a mummy's cloth, if you've ever seen, so I think I was at the Smithsonian when the mummy was there, or was it in Minnesota when the mummy was there? But I think it was the Smithsonian. Anyways, they're not cream. There's definitely discoloration and all the other things. And so I love adding color to my mummy. I just think it's so fun. So you see how lifting that up, and you can see, you get the mummy image, but you don't have the lines yet, right? So I have StazOn black and I have StazOn opaque white. Now, I haven't used my opaque white yet, so it comes with the opaque ink, and then you rub that into your pad here, and then it is good to go. I did not do the whole thing because I'm pretty sure you have to re-ink it quite frequently whenever you use it. And I'm not going to use my opaque white StazOn a whole lot. Maybe more towards Christmas time, because I love to do shaker mug style cards, and it works well for printing on top of acetate. So I just did it the one time. I probably could have kept it at this, and so I decided I wanted a little bit heavier of a print, so I'm just going to re-ink it again. Now, I didn't make sure it was back in that corner all the way, so it's slightly off the second time I stamp it, which isn't bad. But then when I looked at it, I'm like, you know, it's going to get lost in my window, in the stuff that's underneath. So I brought in some StazOn ink cleaner, cleaned up my stamp because I didn't want to contaminate my black ink pad with the white ink. I really don't know how that works with StazOn, so I was just being doubly careful. I am going to re-ink my StazOn because, yes, it's just one of those inks that needs a re-inker, and you tend to have to re-ink it when you use it, because I don't use it that often. I do also keep the press and seal on top of it. Yes, now look at that. Is that not absolutely gorgeous? Just because it gives that a little bit of white shadow on top of the black. So it was kind of a super happy accident that it had slightly shifted, because it gives me that white shadow underneath that black. I absolutely loved it. And so here is where this card is going. We're doing a Scooby-Doo and gang. So the stamp sets I am using today, aside from the Unraveled from Tim Holtz, are from Ink Road Stamps. So the Ink Road stamp sets are, let me find them here, Ruh Roh, which is a smaller stamp set, and which is the mystery machine with the gang in there. And then for my Inside Sentiment ones, it's the Zoinks stamp set, which coordinate well with the Scooby-Doo and the gang stamp set. So my acetate sheet, if you saw there, it's going to barely hang on. So I'm coming in with a piece of 1/8 inch score tape here and going as close to the edge as I can without going over. I don't want to get adhesive on the front because at this point I'm still thinking that my frame is going to work, right? Yeah. So here I am with the frame, just making sure that it is going to cover what I needed to cover and line up. And this is where I realized, yeah, I'm going to have a bright rainbow color on the front sticking through that window, and that's not going to work. So I realize at this point I'm going to have to cut a second frame for on the front. I'm not worried about it. I'm just going to get my frame on the back. So I kind of have a base here and I know what I'm working with overall. So once I have that laid down, I'll fix the front later. I just kind of want to see where my perspective is going for my next piece. So I had planned on doing layers of cardstock behind there to build my scene, and I love doing road perspectives with ink blending. So that's what I ended up doing. So I'm taking that Avery L removable adhesive sheet, and then I'll pull in a full back adhesive sticky here, and I'm going to start ink blending with some pumice stone on there. So now while I'm ink blending, let me tell you about Get Creeping on Halloween. It is a hashtag I started last Halloween. I absolutely love Halloween. I find that creatively I probably do my best work during Halloween, probably because it's Halloween and I don't care. Like, if it turns out horrible, it's still okay because it's Halloween. It's supposed to look, you know, grungy and dirty, and if all else fails, we can paint it black and put some white cobwebs over the top. It really doesn't matter. But to me, I find it is like just a creative rejuvenator. And so a lot of times throughout the year, I just get so when it comes to creativity. And so it was my goal for the year is to do one Halloween card a month, tap into that super creative side of myself. Plus, I have all of these Halloween stamps because Halloween is one of my absolute favorite holidays. All that is required of you is candy and maybe a fun costume. It allows us to be anybody and anything we want to be for one night a year, and it's just fun. And so that's kind of where that Get Creeping on Halloween hashtag was born from. Kate from Kate's Craft and I were kind of like chatting, and she's like, you should totally do it. So she does participate with me some months. I do believe she's ready for this month, and so it's just fun. So there's a couple other ones that like to follow me here or on Instagram and look at that hashtag Get Creeping on Halloween. If you do get creeping on Halloween, please tag at InkyandScrappy either here or on Instagram so I can go and creep on your creep too. Anyways, I finished ink blending there with some of that, let's see, Villainous Potion and then Peacock Feathers, the same stuff I used on the front, and then edged it with some black soot. I did come in with that bat stamp from Unraveled and inked it up in some Ranger archival ink. It's what covers or goes over the top of Distress Oxides. The best, if you've worked with them before, you just know to find something to cover them. I just do what Tim tells me to do. And so it has been the best one for me to use. And then for my grass here on the side of the road, because obviously I need some grass there, I'm going to come in with the Twisted Citron. It matches that green from my ink blend or my coloring on my mystery machine there. So I actually did the coloring on the mystery machine at the airport last week, and so you don't get to see any of that footage, which was good because my flight was delayed and I was doing airport appreciation. I was kind of worried I was going to end up being there until the next flight left, but I did end up getting my mystery machine colored and a couple of other things done while I sat and waited. And so I'm going to just add in the mystery machine onto my background here. Yes, I pulled up some of that background because it wasn't all the way dry yet with my paper, but it really didn't matter because the mystery machine was going there. And now I'm going to bring in my color combo guides, and I knew I tried to match, and I need to go in and figure out my colors that I used for my mystery machine and put them on my list there for ink blend colors that match my distress or distress oxide colors. And so this was the color that I used that matches that Villainous Potion the best. Granted, because I have the other color in there, it kind of looks a little brighter, but that's okay. Now, I did have some over adhesive on the outside of my frame here. And so I'm just bringing in, I think it's like a Perfect Pearl, basically, by Jacquard, I do believe. Don't quote me. I suck at anything that's got a name. And so I just kind of put that around the edge. It just adds, it finishes it up. It takes the sticky away from it. And then I'm just bringing in that removable adhesive sheet again to pick up any of the over dusting of that pearlescent powder. So here I am. I'm just going to finish up the front here with my frame. So I am going to end up using that cloud background paper to add on the front of my frame on this one. And so since the other one is already on there, I just have to make sure that it covers up that beautiful rainbow of color that really doesn't go with the rest of my card. Yeah, it happens. So I'm going to add this on, and then I need to do some sentiments yet. And so if you are adverse to foul language, I am sorry. There are some stamped sentiments on this one that might use my inner naughty speaking voice. I will not say them out loud, so there's that. Anyways, the front here is going to say Ruh Roh from the Scooby-Doo and the Gang Zoinks stamp set from InkyandScrappy Stamps, and I'm going to bring in that white Stays On again just because I don't know. I didn't want to ink blend on it because I have the transparency on there. It's all put together. I don't want it to warp. And so I figured it was the best option available for me. So I added the Ruh Roh onto the front. And then I'm going to open it up here. And for the inside, since I had some ink smudges, I'm going to use the reverse on that cloud backdrop is these little ghosts, and I just thought those would be cute. Easy enough to write on because they're white, and, you know, it gives enough. So this is where that naughty word drop might happen. It's okay. My nieces know, I swear. They watch my videos, so that's why I won't say it live. And so Shaggy says Zoinks. Scooby says Ruh Roh. Daphne says Jeepers. Velma says Jinkies, and me, well, I say something that's, you know, well, fudge. And so, and then of course I needed to add a couple of more, you know, sentiments onto this one, and my camera died right about here. You will see the inside sentiments in a little bit, as right here. This was me. I was all done. I was getting it all set. Here, Double Ugly, go buy yourself a new face. I love Shaggy. He's the best. Anyway, so I was done. This was my card. I was finished. I was in love with it. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, his eyeballs really need to be white. Like, I shouldn't be able to see through his eyeballs. Granted, if he was a hologram, which, you know, if you watch Shaggy and Scooby and Gang, you knew that happened frequently. But I was like, you know, I bet I could go in with white mixative and make his eyeballs at least stick out a little bit more. And so I did right here. I'm telling you, this was like, I was already done. And then, yeah, this happened. And, well, you know. And then I was like, ooh, I like it. And so what do? I double down and I come back in with a whole bunch and I just kind of highlight different areas. I don't do the whole thing. I don't make it all opaque white. I just add a little bit. I still want to be able to see him on this side when I get all done and finished. I want to be able to see those black lines. I want to be able to see things. But do you not see how much more he kind of like jumps up and out off of the card. And so I absolutely loved the white. And so I dry it quick, and oh, I absolutely love it. It just gives it a little bit something extra. It makes it pop up a little bit more off of that Mystery Machine. And then I'm just going to clean my brush with some 90% rubbing alcohol, and then I mark this brush for future alcohol painting. And we complete another month of Get Creeping on Halloween. I hope to see you get your creep on too. Either tag me at Inky&Scrappy here or on Instagram, and have an amazing rest of your day. Thank you so much. Bye!